right, guys. Well, welcome back. And I think we're going to start off. I need you to tell me. Right now, Austin's being attacked by a fly.
Yeah.
There's a critter in here.
Random.
He's no fear fly. He's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. What if you just poured all that on my phone? So I've got to know, what would be the one item that you would take if you were on Naked and Afraid?
All right.
Besides that fly you just captured with a Powerade bottle.
You want me to answer or Mark
Yeah,
to
I want
answer?
you to answer.
Me first?
Yeah.
A real nice frame pack.
You would take a frame pack on Naked and Afraid
Uh-huh.
to like cover yourself.
They didn't carry stuff around.
What stuff? Things you built?
Yeah.
Okay.
Food stuffs that I forage for.
You forage for it because you're
Mhm.
gonna. Oh, see what you did there.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool. Well, personally, I feel like I would take a pot. I would take a pot, and that way I could boil water. I feel like the rest of the stuff I could figure out. You know.
That's a good one.
But we've got a special guest with us today, and I'm going to butcher your name, man, and I apologize for it, but it's Mark Von... Whoo, boy. Say it for me. Say it for me again.
All right.
Vorderbergen.
Vorderbergen, yes.
Vorderbergen. See, I was that close. So, Mark, what would you take on Naked and Afraid? Your one item you've got.
Actually, I'm going to agree with you. I would take a metal cooking pot.
You got to, right? I mean...
Mm-hmm. I mean, a knife you can bang rock flakes to get a sharp edge. Most of the stuff, wood and so forth, you can break with your hands. But when it's, like you said, coming to boiling water or any sort of cooking or carrying stuff, a pot is really multifunctional.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like everybody who is... it just sucks to have the... to not have to get... How are you going to get water, you know? And plus it doubles for, like, boiling water. It doubles for, like, collecting rainwater. Yeah, I don't know. That's why I don't know if I could be on that show. Like, just the thought of being naked in the woods for 30 days does not sound appealing to me at all. I would love to be in the woods for 30 days, but not naked. Like, the show alone would be more up my speed.
Yeah. Like, I went for an 8-mile hike the other day in the quote woods north of Dallas and probably have malaria based on the number of mosquito bites I got, much less being naked in that business.
This is the first year that I have not been just absolutely decimated by mosquito bites.
We flipped because I always get decimated. I'd never get decimated, I should say. Anywho.
So, Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into foraging and how did this all start?
Sure. Okay, so my day job was, during the day, I'm Dr. Mark Vorderbergen. I'm a formulation chemist for a chemical company that does consumer goods. It's the evenings and weekends where I'm Merriweather, the foraging guru. And that goes way back to my childhood and in fact to the childhood of my parents. Both my parents were children of the Great Depression, and the way the small farming communities up in Minnesota, where I'm originally from, got through that troubled time was through supplementing their diet and their medicine with the wild plants around them. Both my parents to this day still love nature. My dad is 89. He just texted me a picture of the turkey he shot earlier this week.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Or maybe it was last night. So he's still out there hunting, but I just grew up in the woods being pointed out all this stuff and just the love of these, all nature's bounty had to offer was just a huge part of my childhood. When I knew I wanted to be a scientist, and it was kind of a debate between being a botanist and a chemist. And when I looked at the numbers, the chemists, are a little bit better financially than a botanist, so I went that route. But I maintained that desire to know every plant around me and how it can be used, that both traditionally and what science says it can actually be used for.
Yeah, about like
There's a
baking.
lot of there's a lot of traditional uses that once it was actually studied scientifically, they said, no, it doesn't work that way. But at the same time, there are a lot that were, and they said, wow, you know what? These cultures, the early cultures were right. This plant would do that.
Wow.
So it's been a wonderful way of blending my two passions together, and then I'm just egotistical enough to want to share it with everyone else, too.
Well, you have a great website, that's for sure. ForagingTexas.com. I got lost in it just looking at things, and my biggest thing with foraging is just I feel obviously like blackberries are pretty easy, but some of the lettuce family and dandelions and things like that, I'm a bit nervous to venture off into that and go, oh, I'm going to go pick this, and it seems like it's okay, but then I don't want to poison myself.
Well, a lot of that stems from excuse me. A lot of that stems from people forgot how to look at plants and how to identify plants and how what's important on a plant and what isn't. They just see this plant.
Yeah.
When you look at a person, you look at the eyes, the nose, the shoulder, the curve, all these things. But with plants, we just have this plant blindness that prevents us from seeing the details. I tell people, if you can tell the difference between a peach and a nectarine, you can forage any plant out there. You just have to be attentive to details, and away you go.
Interesting.
So what are kind of some of those details that you would be on the lookout for? I mean, obviously, I'm sure that's going to vary across all plants, but are there certain things that you always kind of look for first?
So, well, there's about 152 different families of plants. If you look at all the plants in the world, the scientists have basically divided them up into around 152 different families, and all the members of the family have the same structural characteristics. They may vary in size and color, but the details are all going to be the same. So let's talk about leaves for a second. Is it a simple leaf where there's just one leaflet attached to the branch, or is it a compound leaf where you have multiple leaflets attached to each other, attached to the branch?
So something like poison ivy?
Yeah, or sumac.
Sumac, okay.
Where it has multiple leaflets. But even a lot of people don't even know how to tell what is a leaf and what is a leaflet or a part of a leaf. They just see leaves, and it's little how it's attached to the stem is where you decide if it's a leaf or a leaflet, simple leaf, compound leaf. So there's that. There is how the leaves are arranged on the plant itself. So are they always directly opposite one another, or do they kind of zigzag alternating up the branch? And that's going to be a characteristic specific to the family. The vein pattern in the leaves. Is there just one center vein and all the other veins branch off that? Or are there multiple parallel veins? Is there like a spider web? So the vein structure is another thing you look at. The edge of the leaf, does it have serrations or teeth or bumps, or is it what we call intact or entire, where it's just smooth around the edge? Are there hairs on the leaf? And do they stick straight up? Do they point back towards the main plant? Do they point towards the tip of the leaf? So just on the leaf, there's all sorts of different characteristics. And then it's the color, the same on the top and on the underside. Like on the Mustang grapes right now, the top side of the leaf is green, the underside is gray, the underside is fuzzy, hairy, the top side is smooth. So there's all these structural details just in the leaves alone. But then if you add the flowers and the bark and the roots and the fruit nut, those are the things that all has a tremendous. Think of each structure as a different colored Lego brick. You can put them all together, but in the end, they're going to be a specific plant. If you look at all the different structural features, you can zero in pretty quickly on what the plant is. You just have to know how to look at the plant rather than see a sea of green. You have to look at all the individual little different pieces.
So on Are there certain characteristics, I mean, within a family? I mean, I guess us being so new to this, break down just kind of like if we were, where's a good place to start to try to find and identify plants that would be edible for you to eat or to make maybe even, let's start with eat and then we'll kind of move into other things you could do with plants.
Okay, so the best place to start is right at your front doorstep. Identify the landscaping plants around you, and then look up to see if they're edible or not. The nice thing about landscaping plants is they're somewhat easier to identify. At the very easiest, you take a picture that you go to a local gardening center or nursery and say, "What is this plant?"
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh, that's this." And then you mark it out. Okay, what is this plant? So you do that. And then you look in your grass and just identify the little weeds that are popping up. The pony's foot and dollarweed and Japanese hawkweed and dandelion and all those sort of things. Figure out what those are. The mistake people make is they go out looking for specific edible plants rather than just starting and figuring out what the plants around them are. Because more likely than not, most of the plants around them are edible or medicinal. They just haven't realized it.
Yeah. So I guess what would be a pretty common thing in your front yard that you would be able to cook or consume?
Sure. So pony's foot is a very common yardweed found all across North America. It's a tiny little, the leaves are kind of shaped like a kidney bean or like the hoof of a horse. They range in size from smaller than a dime to, if you have really good soil, they can get almost the size, a little bit bigger than a quarter. They grow in runners, so if you dug it up, you would just have a long underground strand with the individual leaves on stems coming up from it. And from a taste point of view, it's basically nature's iceberg lettuce. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor or nutritional value, but it's a nice bulking agent just to take up space in your stomach and on your plate. You can eat it raw. You can use it as a cooked green, as if it were spinach. You can, if you're into making sauerkraut or kimchi, you can add it to that. But it's very, very, very common.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture right now. I've definitely seen that. Plenty of places. I may have some in my backyard right now that I thought was clover.
No doubt. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I think when I see that. It looks like I guess it looks less
tiny
like
lily pad almost.
Exactly
right?
what I was going to say, is a tiny lily pad.
That's it.
So you could just pick that and like treat it like a lettuce, spinach, cook it down. Microgreen type thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's either raw or cooked. I just take the leaves. There's nothing dangerous or poisonous about the stem or the runner. They're just a little tough, but the leaves are fine and tender.
So you'd pick them and then pull the leaves off and just use that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You said I was looking at the picture some more. You said the stems are bitter.
No, they're stringy.
Oh, okay.
They're just a little tough and stringy. Fibrous.
Sure.
Fibrous.
Yeah. All right.
So kind of moving down the line, what would be kind of some of the next things that you would?
The trees. Identify the trees around you, whatever is most common. I mean, even as simple, is this a pine tree? Is this a maple tree? Is this an oak tree? With most of the trees, you do not have to zero in on the very exact species. But most of the trees around here really have some pretty good edibility to them. So both the landscaping ones that are non-native, as well as if you're out in the woods, what are the trees out there? Like, all the pine trees around here, you can use the green needles mashed up to make a really wonderful tea that's very high in vitamin C. And then all the pine cones, if you rip them open, you will find edible pine nuts. Same with the maple trees, the helicopters, the seed pods. So you peel those open. They have a little membrane on them, kind of like a Spanish peanut. You have to remove that too. And then you just roast them up like pumpkin seeds. You can eat those.
And that sounds really good.
Yeah. You actually want to get them before they are dropping, so when they're almost mature but not quite mature. Because once they start falling from the tree, they've developed a bitterness to them to keep animals from eating them once they land on the ground. So you want to get them before that bitterness occurs.
Nature's defense system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Humans did not invent chemical warfare. The plants did.
Exactly. So, talking about trees, obviously, I think anybody who's from this area of or in Texas is familiar with the pecan tree, an acorn, like oak trees, and with the acorns. I guess let's start with. I mean, pecans are pretty easy, but as far as like acorns, what are some cool things that you've done with acorns in the past, or do you mess around with those at all, or?
Yeah, so acorns have been a staple food of mankind all around the world for millennia, tens of thousands of years. Though most people who try one now, they go, "Oh, this is terrible, it's bitter, it's drying my mouth out." That's because they don't know the trick. Acorns are loaded with a chemical called tannic acid. And if you think about the word tannic acid, tanning leather. The tannic acid is a very bitter compound, and it basically causes proteins to shrivel up and shrink up. So you don't want to eat the tannic acid. Luckily, tannic acid is very, very water-soluble. And so, like I said, tens of thousands of years ago, it was discovered that if you crush up the acorn meat, put it in some sort of woven basket, drop it in a running stream for a day or two, the water running through it will leach out the tannic acid, just like you were making coffee, with coffee grounds, with the water flowing through it.
Be like a tea bag
but it
almost.
But it leaves behind all the water insoluble nut oil and the protein and the fats. So, and those are the calorie sources, which are the thing you need most out in the wild. Now, some people will try just boiling them and then eat them and go, "These taste terrible," because boiling doesn't work. You need water flowing over it to wash it away. You can't just soak it in water because the tannic acid will leave and then go right back in.
Wouldn't the boiling would the boiling also remove some of the oils and fats probably by liquefying them?
Some, but then, when you pour it off, not so much the fats, but it could do some of the oils.
Okay.
But when you hear me describe kind of leaching out the tannic acid like coffee, it's because a coffee maker is actually a pretty good way of leaching out the tannic acid. So you just fill the basket of your coffee maker with crushed up acorn, fill the reservoir with water, and you just start flushing water through it. You want to keep refilling the reservoir with water, because if you make a pot, leach a pot's worth of water through it, and then let the acorns cool down, they will naturally shrivel up some. So the next pot of water, it's harder to extract the tannic acid. So you kind of need to keep refilling the reservoir immediately. So the acorn
going.
Yeah. So let's just say like you have a pound of acorns. Did you say you crush them some first?
Yeah, you want to break them up into about the size of coffee grounds.
Okay, that's small. Okay.
You don't want to go smaller than that. If you grind it into a powder, it just clogs the filter and you can't get anything through it. So you need space for the water to go through it.
So let's say you get them ground. You have a pound of ground acorn, and you're going to soak it and leach it that way. Say you have a 2-gallon pot. You put this in there. How much water? How often? A, how often, and B, how many times should you change the water?
So each batch you want to change, at least for the first 3 batches. If there's any sort of yellow color in the water, dump that out and use fresh water.
Okay.
But then you want to taste the water, or even taste some of the acorn meat after each leach. Starting after leach number 4, taste a little bit of the water, taste a little bit of the acorn, and see if it's reached a point that you can deal with. It can really vary from species to species and acorn to acorn. In general, the white acorns have less tannic acid than red oak acorns. So the white oak have less tannic acid than the red oak. The downside is the white oak acorns are a 2-year cycle, whereas the red oak every year produces acorns. But it can take anywhere from 5 to 15 or 20. It really depends on the acorns. You're just going to keep going until you're done.
Interesting.
That's why throwing it in a creek or a stream
Sure.
is a little less labor intensive. Really environmentally friendly people will hang the bag of the crushed up acorns in the tank of their toilet, and every time you flush it, runs fresh water through it. But I'm not that.
It makes sense, but I agree. A little weird for me
Yeah,
too.
a little too far there. Yeah. So what would be something really good to do with so you've gotten it, you've gotten everything leached out. What are you doing with it then? What's kind of your favorite way to consume it?
So my favorite way, once it's been leached, you either lay it out on the cookie sheet, or in a large wok, you just roast it a little. So you heat it up. If you're laying it on a cookie sheet, kind of put it on a single layer. So you probably need multiple cookie sheets in the oven, 400 degrees for just 4 or 5 minutes, just until it gets kind of brittle and brown. At that point, you grind it up like flour. And what you have at that point is a gluten-free flour. So you can't make the raised breads, but you can make flat breads. You can mix it with regular flour to make heavy breads. But my personal favorite is as a gravy. It makes an absolutely fantastic gravy. So like acorn gravy.
Remember when I made biscuits gravy that weekend? I was making the roux.
Oh,
Use that for the.
yeah.
I'm really interested to do this now.
So like a squirrel with acorn gravy. It's really, really good.
Oh my gosh.
Sold.
Squirrel with
And then
acorn
if you
gravy.
find
Wow.
some wine cup tubers to add to that, like little roasted potatoes, I'm drooling there.
You're in heaven.
I am.
Yeah, that's
We're definitely into squirrel already.
yeah.
So being able to make a roux and make a gravy with some acorns we got when we shot the squirrels would be awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like Daniel Boone or something.
Exactly.
And especially if you're going to make a gravy like that, you don't have to leach them quite as much as if you're making just a regular flour for like a bread or a pancake or a tortilla. A little bit of that bitterness is okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh man, I really love it.
That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
That does sound awesome. What a cool way to take an acorn. I mean,
You don't need a grinder, food mill, or not a food mill, but a grinder.
2 rocks.
I guess so, yeah.
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 I'll get it done.
Well,
The pan you both brought to Naked and Afraid.
It's much easier to do it with an actual grain grinder, but
I guess
those are relatively new inventions.
Mortar and pestle, I've got one of those.
Yeah.
That'd work. Take some work, but it would do it.
Yeah.
And once it's kind of roasted some, it's pretty easy. They can be a bit oily and tasty, but that's a good thing because that's calories.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what you're after.
Man, I don't.
That's cool.
Gravy just sounds awesome.
I'd heard of people making acorn flour.
Oh.
But I didn't know
Okay.
about
Do
the
you really
leaching.
want to go full hard? You put a couple of green grapes in it. A green grape gravy. It just has this. Sounds weird.
So I'll make homemade gravy. I get that. But when did you add? I mean, just a green grape, just a couple of those.
Yeah. So just mash up some green grapes and add that in there too. Chop them up, mash them up, throw them in there too.
Huh. What does that do for
It's
it?
almost like it's kind of like a fried tomatoes, sort of, fried green tomatoes, but different. It adds just another.
You use when
that,
you're stirring the flour and the fat to make the roux, you put them in then to kind of fry them a little bit, or
yeah,
before you add the milk.
Yeah. So get it like the roux almost done, and like when you got like a minute or two left, you throw them in at the end, and then add the liquids.
All right, I'm in.
Wow. I'll get.
Why not?
Give it a try. Yeah.
Now, for like each cup of flour, just use like 3 or 4 grapes. Start with 3 grapes, see what you think, and go from there.
Said per cup of
Jump
flour.
up or down. Yeah.
Okay.
So how much? So if we were going to go pick a bunch of acorns like that, so I mean, obviously you've piqued our interest here. How many acorns would you need to make
a cup of flour?
Yeah, like just a cup of flour. How many acorns are you looking at?
It approximately be a cup of mashed up acorns.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So it's pretty.
So there's not. I mean, you obviously the little like woodish
so
cap
once
on them, you'll lose that.
Yeah, you
got
to
the rest
take
of it's
that
pretty
off,
usable.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The meat inside the nut, all that is good to go.
Okay.
We have to give this a try.
I've got a tree in my front yard.
Yes. And it drops a ton of acorns.
Tons.
Okay.
Well, we'll be having that done this fall.
That'll be a fun adventure to go down. So, what about other just kind of like, so not like a fruit tree that somebody planted, but like a more of a natural a fruit tree that you'd see some sort of like a fruit, maybe just around.
Sure.
Where do you go from like natural occurring fruits here in the? Let's stick with kind of the state.
A good one is the mulberry.
Oh yeah. When I was a kid, our neighbors had a mulberry tree, and my mom would always go gather them and cook with them.
Oh yeah, they're good.
But continue. I'm sorry, that brought back fond memories.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good thing. Yeah, so we're just coming to the end of mulberry season, but for those of you who don't know what a mulberry is, it looks like a blackberry up in a tree. But one of the nice things about the mulberry trees is they, pound for pound, produce more fruit than any other tree out there. So a really mature mulberry, you lay a tarp down on the ground and you just start shaking it and hitting the branches with long sticks, and the fruit falls down on the tarp, and then you just collect it off the tarp. So that's a good one. If you're in the swampy areas, we'll be coming up on the Mayhaw.
The Mayhaw?
Which is Mayhaw, yeah. It's actually it's
how do you spell that?
At my notes. So M-A, yeah, May, H-A-W, one word, Mayhaw. So the fruit is really ripe at the end of May here. So now is when you'd be out there collecting that also. It's like a very, very, very tart little apple. And you find it in the deepest, dankest, darkest, most water moccasin-y and alligator-infested swamps. But the belief is that they make the best jelly in Texas because they have a very complex flavor that just really comes out when you're making the jelly. I don't know if they still do, but at a lot of the county fairs in Texas, they would actually have a special competition for Mayhaw jelly. So not just like wild duck.
I like
Mayhaw
jelly.
Yeah.
So you used to be able to like drive up into East Texas. That's where you mainly find it.
More in
and
East
all
Texas
along the roadside.
I bet
all
Dan's got some.
roadside.
Yeah, we may have we have I think we have a line on a place that may have some Mayhaw.
It's East Texas
swamp.
swamp.
So.
Yep.
When would that be coming ripe? When should we be looking for it?
Yeah. So right now, really, May and June.
Hence the May.
Yeah. But they look like little apples. Maybe they're not quite an inch across when they're ripe, but they look like they're apple red.
Yep.
If you look on Foraging Texas and Mayhaw, they're on the left-hand side. You'll see pictures.
Yep.
The leaves.
Oh yeah, we're both looking on our phones right now.
That's what we're following along.
All right.
Just visually so we can see, because it's good to put a picture. So if you're listening to the podcast, go to the website and look up these things, because you'll. It's amazing that
I've seen that.
You're talking about it, and I'm kind of like, man, I'm trying to think about what that is. Then you see it, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I've seen that 100,000 times. So, what is this? Is it something that would? Is there something in the woods that would closely resemble this that you should stay away from?
That's always my concern also.
Okay, so that's always a trick question.
Okay.
Going back to, so it's amazing how many times I will get a question like, is this X? And my response is, No, that is a vine. It's not the fruit of a tree. So
Okay.
looking at the picture, it looks like a little apple.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the hawthorn family. Apples are also in the hawthorn family. They're called crown fruit. If you look at the base, let's see, what picture would that be? So under the flower is the third picture of the fruit, not even the second picture of the fruit. At the base of the apple, there's often that little, like a little crown, if you will, at the base. So, opposite the stem, if you flip an apple over, you'll see in the little dimple a little crown sticking up of little green leaf-like type things. They were part of the covering of the sepal of the flower, if you will. So you see that, and you cut it in half. It looks like an apple. It has the seeds. You look at the leaves. So, no, there's nothing else that looks like this. There are other plants out there with red berries, and it's just a matter of paying attention to the details.
Okay.
Yeah, looking for that little green crown on the bottom, opposite the stem.
Yeah. And then, like on the mayhaw, they have the thorns. So the thorns are very distinctive, too, along the branches.
Okay. Yeah.
So it looks like an apple tree with thorns.
Okay.
Wow. We may be able to get some of this, too, from my brother in Louisiana.
It moves over to Louisiana, I'm sure, in the swamps.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mayhew, that's a Mayhew, I don't know why I said that, but Mayhaw. Okay, well, what other things would be kind of something that would be naturally going on, fruit-wise? One
of my favorites in the fall is the hackberry.
Okay.
So the fruit of the hackberry tree. Most people who know what a hackberry tree is, hate it. They consider it to be a trash tree. They have very weak wood, so every time there's any sort of wind or storm, all sorts of branches have dropped off it. It's a short-lived tree, so an old, or actually an ancient hackberry would be about 30 years old. So people don't really like using them in landscaping because they don't last long. But what people don't realize is the little red berries of the hackberry. Now, hackberries are found all over the world. They are the oldest known foraged food. The oldest thing that we can point to and say, these were collected specifically for food. And not by Homo sapiens. I mean, they were collected by Homo sapiens, us. But it actually goes back to the Peking man. If you remember, like, some anthropology class or history class, in the mid-'70s, there was a series of skeletons found in a cave in central China that were pre-human, but they had tools and other things. And one thing they found was some bags of the hackberry. So we can point back to even before we were humans, we were collecting the fruit of the hackberry for food.
Wow.
So the seed, or the fruit, is very small. It's not much bigger than a kernel of corn. Very, very sweet pulp around a very, very large, hard seed. But the neat thing about the seed is it is loaded with a nut oil that never goes rancid. So, like butter or pecans or walnuts or those sort of things, those eventually go rancid and you can't eat them. But the hackberry, the oil in that never oxidizes and never becomes rancid. What the early man used to do, they'd collect the hackberries, the ripe fruit, so here in Texas, usually around October, collect the ripe fruit when the outer pulp is still sweet and juicy, and just mash it all up again, make a paste out of it, so the pit, or the seed and the flesh around it and the skin, mash it all up, kind of shape it into bars, roast it by the fire a bit to basically make a crunchy granola bar out of it. And now they had food that they could store, and it would not spoil. They could take it on their hunting parties and everywhere else.
So you just take the fruit off, you said, you mash it up, all
Yep.
Just throw them in a mortar and pestle and smash them.
and just smash them.
Yep.
Spread it out, let
It's
it
gonna-
dry.
Yeah, or pack it into like granola bar type shapes,
Yeah.
and then throw that in your oven for 300 degrees for just a few minutes, and just kind of poke at it. It'll probably crumble up into like a granola cereal sort of thing, but it's still fine.
Oh man, that
But
sounds really
the
good.
sugar hackberry, if you've ever had almond milk,
Yep.
you can do a similar thing where you mash up the fruit. Instead of roasting it, you just kind of boil it in water, and then let it sit in your refrigerator for overnight. And let the sugars and everything kind of diffuse into the water.
So
It
they're
takes a lot of hackberry, though.
so they're ripe when they're
Yeah.
red.
Correct.
How you said there's some very sweet part of it. If
Yeah.
you just smash it up and you say make a true old school granola bar, how much
Yep.
sweetness is there going to be if just using pure hackberries and nothing else?
Oh, very, very sweet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, the hackberry, in the early Texas pioneers, this is what they used as one of their sweeteners. And they didn't have regular access to sugar, or they needed the sugar for more important things like cooking and canning and so forth. The sugar hackberry in the fall was one of the desserts of the early pioneers here in Texas.
And once you get it into the granola, it's good forever.
Pretty much, yeah.
Huh, that's awesome. It's gonna be another
so
one that
can
I'm
you-
gonna try.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna make some natural power bar for deer season.
Yeah,
of this, for
absolutely.
sure. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I would think like a pemmican with it would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'd say, and there's so many hackberry trees out there. I mean, I know there's a
Yep.
ton of hackberry trees.
You do?
I've
For
hunted
sure.
out of them a bunch at a,
place?
at a Lake Tawakoni.
All right. So if you also the hackberries. So if you wanted to say I saw on your site here, preserves. How would you make jelly or preserves out of them? Just boil the whole
Out
thing.
of the hackberry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. I haven't tried with them. They don't really have enough juice to make any sort of jelly or jam sort of thing from them. So
Okay.
it's just a lot.
So stick to power bars.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so right now, we've got a buddy who's out just going crazy with the blackberries. What's your take on the blackberries? And I think that's probably. Would you agree that's probably the easiest things that somebody could go out and find right away? Or
Definitely, yeah. Because they're so common and all over the place. So the blackberry, just to clarify once, the blackberry and the dewberry are genetically the same. Think of them as two different breeds of dog. If it creeps along the ground in a thin vine, think of that as a chihuahua. That is the dewberry. If it's on a strong, thick, upright cane, the Great Dane, that will be the blackberry.
okay,
But they're interchangeable.
because we talked about this.
No, say this again. I'm sorry, because while I was looking at blackberries this last weekend. What I thought they were. Say that again.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. So if the vine on which the fruit is growing creeps along the ground, that is a dewberry. If it's on an upright cane, a thick upright branch that shoots up in the air, 5-6 feet high in the air, that is a blackberry. Genetically, they are the same. So you think of them as two different breeds of dog. So the blackberry, the tall, upright, thick one, that is a Great Dane. And the one that creeps along the ground, that's the Chihuahua.
So,
They can hybridize, or they can cross, breed, and you get all sorts of weird things from that. But the fruit is edible.
So
One thing also.
Go ahead.
Okay, one other thing to know about it is a particular dewberry vine or blackberry cane will only produce fruit the first year of its life. After that, it will just be leaves and thorns, but it will not produce fruit again. So I tell people, really, after you strip all the fruit off a particular cane or vine, at least 25% of those, cut the cane or vine out, throw it away, get it out of your way. Otherwise, you're not going to hurt the plant. It's not going to interfere with the reproduction or the growth of the plant. But it will make it easier the following years to harvest stuff, and it also gives fewer places for snakes to hide.
Yeah.
So are dewberries and blackberries both 100% ripe when they're black or deep purple, or can the red ones be ripe also?
No, they will both be when they're a flat black color. Mm-hmm. So when they're still shiny and black, they're not quite ripe. They're going to be sweetest when they've gone past shiny to just a matte or flat black color. The sweetest ones will be somewhere where they get plenty of sunlight, but also plenty of water. So if you can, you want to pick them on the south side of the hill along the edge of a pond or stream. They need the sunlight to make the sugar. They need the water to grow really big. So a south-facing hill or stream bank along water, that's where you're going to find the best dewberries and blackberries.
So, I'm comparing pictures. The dewberries are going to be more creeping, and the blackberries are going to be more upright.
Correct.
Could you tell blind taste test, put a dewberry and a blackberry in front of you, would you be able to taste the difference between the two?
Very unlikely.
Yeah. So it's basically the same thing. It's just like you said, it's they're pretty closely related. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's going to be more variation based on where they are growing than if it is a blackberry or a dewberry.
So you've got wine, jelly, and tea. Have you made wine from these before?
I haven't, but my grandfather used to.
Old dewberry wine? I bet that's pretty good. Just mash it up and let it ferment.
Yep.
So, ask this: if you took a cutting off a dewberry plant, could you get a plant going?
Oh,
Could
yeah.
you have a starter off a cutting?
Yes, either a cutting or some of the root. If you can get the root, that will probably work better.
Oh, okay.
But these things are very, very aggressive.
Yeah.
So if you found the base of one and dug out a little piece of root and stalk,
you'll get several 6-inch sections of the root and plant those. Keep them moist the first year, and away they will go.
Okay.
So they just kind of, like you said, one's
a vine, one's a stalk.
So as far as if you find the dewberry, is there one that's more common here in Texas?
No.
No, just kind of.
It's just wherever. Yeah, they're both very, very plentiful.
Yeah.
Looking at this, I'm pretty sure half those brambles and brush we slog through to go places that's full of thorns is dewberry that's already produced.
Yeah.
Because it's so thorny and it looks just like that, but there's not fruit on it. So it's like you said, it's probably past its first year, because that's what you said was first year production.
If you're starting your fresh thicket, just planting it in someplace new, you definitely want to remove a quarter of the branches each year. If it's one that's already in place, like you bought a farm and it had kind of overrun, just mow them all down the first year.
And they'll come right back.
They will come back, and then you start doing the thinning, because otherwise, it's just going to be a huge impenetrable mass.
So if we're out on a place and we found dewberry or blackberry not producing, we can hack it down at the bottom at the ground. Basically, it'll regrow and that will regenerate fruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once it's grown and generated,
it's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we definitely know where a pile of this stuff is everywhere.
So is a good way to tell if it's going to produce fruit, obviously the flower. You go out early spring if it's got flowers over it.
Yep. I personally hate seeing the flowers because they start showing up right at the end of March, beginning of April, and it means I absolutely have to do my taxes.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. But that's when you would see them. So
White flowers, tax time,
Yeah, it's like, I surrender, here you go.
Here's a nice future-looking thing that you need to. You can look forward to dewberries, but you need to take care of your taxes now.
Yep, I can't put it off any longer.
So what's which kind of your? So we kind of keep hitting this, which we really enjoy talking about food, as you can tell. But what's your favorite thing to do with a blackberry or dewberry?
Okay, actually, let's go back to the flower.
Okay.
And so you make a blackberry or dewberry infused sugar. So you get yourself your basic quart canning jar, put about a 1/4 inch of granulated sugar in the bottom, and then a whole bunch of dewberry or blackberry flowers in there. So you have about between a 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch of flowers, then another 1/4 inch of sugar, another 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of flowers, and just repeat in layers until the jar is full.
Just pack it.
Pack it, seal it, set it in your windowsill for about 3 days. So you want the sun kind of beating on it to cause the volatile oils in the flour or flowers to evaporate up and recondense on the sugar. And then after 3 days, you just use like a colander or a sifter to separate the flowers out of the sugar. Yeah. And now you have a dewberry or blackberry flavored sugar. It's really good to add to teas, or you can make a syrup out of it, or it's really good on Cheerios,
Or,
Wow.
Go collect some berries, then use the sugar in the berry pie, so you have like berries squared.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Double berry pie.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just pick the flowers and then layer sugar, and then you let it sit for a couple days, and you're good to go.
I'm looking forward to next spring now. Holy crap! While we're out turkey hunting, we're just going to take bags and fill them with stuff.
Oh, so right now, go and do that with the honeysuckle flowers.
Yeah, my grandma had one.
Oh my gosh, that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Pretty much any of the flowers, any of the really fragrant flowers will work. Some give better flavors than others, but like the wild violet do really well. The honeysuckle does really well. The elderberry, it's okay.
Yeah.
The blackberry dewberry does really, really well.
Okay, let's talk about honeysuckle since you brought it up, because I'm on your website. I clicked on honeysuckle, and here's where we get into the thick of it. You say there are several deadly honeysuckles. Make sure you have the safe to eat Japanese one. This is how Abe and I die.
That would be bad. But the really great thing about the Japanese honeysuckle is it is very distinctive. If you see that very first picture, it has a mixture of yellow and white flowers. Mm-hmm. All the poisonous ones have red and orange flowers.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if you see any orange flowers, stay away from it.
Yeah. So you want to see a mixture of the yellow and the white, you're good to go.
Is the leaf pattern any different?
Nope, the leaf pattern is going to be the same. The edge of the leaf, the vein pattern, all that. So you want to wait until you see the flowers. The nice thing about Japanese honeysuckle is it blooms a large portion of the summer. Oh, another thing to keep in mind when you are harvesting these flowers, whatever the flower is, you want to get them in late morning after the dew has evaporated off, but before the heat of the day has caused all the flavors and fragrance to evaporate away.
Okay. And where would you pinch it off at?
Basically, I don't know if you've ever yanked the honeysuckle flowers off to suck the nectar out of the base.
Mm-hmm. It's been a long time.
You're doing that. Yeah, so you're after that nectar.
Just kind of pinch it off
so
right there.
Kind of pinch it off. Yeah, as if you're a 6-year-old kid sucking on the honeysuckle.
Hike to Hunt just took on a whole new meaning.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'd make some honeysuckle infused sugar.
Absolutely.
Just store it.
Yep.
Make stuff.
Yep.
Throw it in things. Right?
Whatever.
Okay.
Have you made Yopan Holly tea?
We've made nothing.
Yopan Holly tea. Yeah, no, we've we have like I said, like as we said as we started, we're relatively new to this. I mean, dewberries, pecans, those types of things. Obviously, picked the honeysuckle stuff when we were kids. We've done, but outside of that, you've absolutely blown our mind with
the 30 minutes we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing about the Yopon holly, it is the only naturally occurring source of caffeine in really North America.
Huh.
And it's all over Central and East Texas. So it's in the leaves, not the berries. And if you go to the Yopon holly, actually, I guess it's holly-yopon.
Okay.
That's why I was like,
I can't find this.
Yeah, there's no
site,
Yopon.
we're trying to follow along.
There's multiple hollies, yeah. So holly-yopon.
I've seen this yet again.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so you just take the leaves. The best thing to do is let them dry for about 2 weeks before you make a tea out of it. Don't put it in a dehydrator. Don't roast it. You want to just let it hang. You snip off a branch and let the leaves dry on the branch.
So
what happens is
you could just like hang some leaves in your garage?
Yep. Or whatever, in my office at work.
Okay, sure.
They're hanging from all the... See, the caffeine and all the good flavors are trapped inside the cell wall. It's a hard rigid structure that gives the plant its structure. So if you take the green leaves, drop them in the hot water, you're not going to get any of the caffeine or anything else out. But the last thing a plant does when it dies is triggers a series of enzymes whose purpose is to break through the cell wall so all the nutrients can return to the soil for the other plants. It's almost like hanging venison. They let it tenderize so that the muscle breaks down. So.
Yep. Yeah, we're very familiar with that.
You let it. Yep. So you let the Yopon holly just hang for about 2 weeks. There's enzymes will chew holes through the cell wall. Then the water will quickly evaporate. It shuts down the enzyme. It can no longer chew. And at that point, you're good to go. So you make a tea from that. The flavor is going to be way, way, way better.
What is the flavor?
Imagine tea with no bitterness. So regular green tea, black tea, Cincinnati tea, it has that tannic acid in it that we were extracting from the acorns. If you overbrew tea, it gets bitter and you can't drink it. That never happens with the Yopon holly. So it tastes like a light green tea, no bitterness, almost a slight natural sweetness to it, but it's a really nice flavor.
We can add some of our honeysuckle sugar to
it. Exactly.
I know where there's a ton of Yopon.
Okay.
At my cousin's.
Well, that's a long ways from here.
I'll be down there sooner rather than later. I'll just take a bunch of Yopon.
Okay, so I'm looking at your pictures here to make sure we don't die. So the biggest difference I'm seeing is the Yopon holly that's safe has an alternating leaf pattern on the stem.
Correct. And then the Chinese privet, they're directly opposite each other.
Okay.
And then if you look closely, the edges of the leaves of the Yopon holly have little teeth on them.
Bit serrated.
Whereas the Chinese privet, it's smooth all the way around, no teeth. But the main thing is the Yopon holly leaves are alternating on the stem, whereas the Chinese privet, they're directly opposite each other in nice alliance.
That makes it easy.
Yeah, this is awesome. Okay, well, I have something, a black hole I want to go down, unless there's
Does it start with an M?
Mm-hmm. Oh, unless there's something else that you really feel like is pertinent and local, and there's I forget where you're located at, Mark.
I'm on the north side of Houston. Is where I live. I travel all over Texas to teach.
Sure. So we're up here in Dallas. I spend a lot of time in Houston also, but is there anything else you want to talk about before I ask what you know I'm going to ask about that's very plentiful, that people should look for, that's cool?
Yeah, wood sorrel.
Wood sorrel?
Wood, WOOD, sorrel, way at the third from the bottom. Mm-hmm. Most people think this is a clover. It's not. If you look at the leaves, you'll see those leaves, it has 3 heart-shaped leaves and that cleft at the top. clover leaves are going to be round or oval, so they will not have the cleft. So if you have the 3 heart-shaped leaves, the traditional shamrock, and it's actually a wood sorrel. And they are really, really tasty. They have a wonderful tangy, sour sort of flavor. And you'll see there's multiple varieties that I have pictured on the website. And they're all edible. Yeah, if you scroll down, you can actually see a side-by-side picture of the wood sorrel on the left and the clover on the right. You can see the heart shape versus the round.
Okay.
Yeah. So all parts of the wood sorrel are edible. The leaves, the stems, the seed pods, the flowers, the tuberous roots, they all have a wonderful tangy flavor to them. Think of it as like a lemon.
So if you're going to add some to a salad, would you just kind of pinch and use the stems and all, or would you take just kind of the leaves off the main
Yeah,
stem?
I just grab a handful, throw it on. Where it's really, really, really good, it may surprise you, but you take a can of like Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, it's a standard can of cream of mushroom soup, and add to it about a quarter cup of chopped up wood sorrel, and stir it in while you're cooking. And it gives this wonderful zing tang to the cream that works absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
It's kind of reminiscent of the green grape acorn gravy.
Oh, okay. Okay, I gotcha.
So it has this
It adds a little bit of acid to it.
tang. Yeah, it's really, really good.
What
Okay.
about the tubulars here? What would you do with those?
Just chop them up and eat them too, or you can pickle them using the Bell Blue Book of Canning and Preserving Pickled Okra recipe.
Okay.
The pickled okra recipe is my go-to recipe for when I'm trying to pickle anything.
Okay.
It's very simple. It's just vinegar, sugar, water, dill. And away you go. But it has just a real nice, simple flavor that plays really well with a wide variety of wild foods.
Okay.
And so this
I
also...
think I have some of those in my backyard right now.
Really?
Maybe.
We're going to go pick them after this. It's going to be fun.
Fun, they said. Okay.
I think it's time to go down the M hole. The M wormhole.
Exactly. Mushrooms. I mean, everybody thinks
All
foraging
right.
mushrooms are cool. I mean, everybody knows what a morel is. Past that,
Yep.
to me, they're all the White Death.
So are there?
Well-
Let's start with this. Are there mushrooms in the state of Texas that you can eat?
Yes, there's quite a few of them.
Sweet.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11 listed on my website right now. And then there's probably about another 10 that I haven't added yet.
Oh wow.
So we are as good with mushrooms as anywhere else in the country, except for maybe the Pacific Northwest.
Okay. That's good to know.
And actually, up by you in the Dallas area, there's a lot of good ones, like the puffballs in particular.
Okay,
Puffballs.
so, I mean, my dad we used to go up to Red River every fall as a kid, and we'd fish, and my dad really one year's got into mushrooms, and I mean, he didn't know a whole lot and would wander around and find all these big mushrooms, but nobody would ever eat them because nobody wanted to risk it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's always the inherent fear. I mean, as your website says, 100% certainty. How do we know 100% certain? Just practice,
here's the
just
thing.
looking at a lot of mushrooms.
Yeah, practice looking at the mushrooms, looking at mushrooms different times of the year, getting several different references and cross-referencing them each to make sure what you have is what you have. But in the end, you can teach yourself mushrooms. The hardest part is trusting yourself when you finally said, I mean, everything matches and nothing doesn't match. You'll be good to go. There's a really good book called 100 Edible Mushrooms by Michael Coe. And he actually starts you off in a grocery store. You buy some oyster mushrooms, a portobello, the little white button, and he walks you through the dissection of each one and points out all the different parts and teaches you how to look at a mushroom in a way that, the way you need to look at it to identify what it is. Like the difference between a true gill and a false gill. When you read the words and it kind of makes sense, but when you're looking at a mushroom trying to decide, should I eat this or not, the cautious part of your brain is saying, no, don't do it. But with Michael Coe, he walks you through with the oyster mushrooms that you buy in the store. Those have a false gill. You can see what I mean by false gill. Where the portobello has a true gill. So to the layperson, just looking, they're gills. They look like gills. How do you tell them apart? But Michael actually goes through and really teaches you with real life examples that you can pick at and look at with a microscope or a magnifying glass on the left. Just an absolutely fantastic book. 100 Edible Mushrooms.
So, like you said, they were up here in Dallas. Say, Abe and I are going to go wander around the woods this weekend. Which edible mushrooms might we run across most commonly?
Okay, chicken in the woods is popping up right now. And that's a very, very distinctive mushroom. It almost looks like a cross between a pancake and a Cheeto growing on dead wood. And especially the underside, it looks like raw chicken. Or actually, it looks like cooked chicken because it's white. Mm-hmm. But there's really nothing else that looks like this. So there's actually the white form and the yellow form. I prefer the white form. Very, very distinctive. And the nice thing about it, if you look at the underside in the pictures here, you see there are no gills. Mm-hmm. It looks like a smooth, flat surface. This is actually what's in the class of mushrooms that are called polypores. Mm-hmm. So multiple pores. The underside, if you look at it with a magnifying glass, you'd see hundreds and thousands of little tiny holes which play the role of the gills. It is a polypore growing on dead wood. This only counts for polypores growing on dead wood. There are none that are going to kill you or even make you really sick.
So it
there
says
are polypores that can.
No, go ahead.
There are some other polypores that can be growing out of the grass. There's a whole class, or a whole family of mushrooms called boletes, B-O-L-E-T-E, and some of them are edible and some of them are not, but they're also polypores, but they grow just out of the grass. They do not grow on dead wood. If it is growing on a dead tree, you're not going to poison yourself.
So if we find an orange and white mushroom on a dead tree, we're fine.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I don't want you to feel liable.
There's no 100% certainties, but you should be good.
So it says this is species or family of mushrooms. I guess it'd be family. Growing on pine or eucalyptus develop compounds could cause extreme stomach distress. Obviously, I don't think eucalyptus is going to be an issue around here, but pine could be.
Yeah.
So we find
but
this in a
usually
pine
you will
tree.
know. Ignore it.
Okay.
I will say that because I'm me, I have tried little bits of it off a pine tree, and I have not experienced that thing, but it was a very small amount. And I've just been desperate for a chicken in the woods and found one on a pine tree. So I figured, well, let's put it to the test. But because there are lawyers in the world, I do not recommend that anyone else try that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no, I get you.
I'm right there with you. How would you say you find a grip of these on a big fallen oak tree, and you want to keep them? How do they keep? Do they store well? Do they freeze well? Is that just not worth it?
Really, the best thing is you pickle them.
Okay.
You store them. Actually, here I'm reading it. If you don't want to use the mushroom right away, the best way to keep them is to pickle them using a cup of vinegar plus 1.5 teaspoons salt plus 3 cups of water and hot pan them like pickled okra.
You even put that. It's right there in front of me.
Yep.
I was looking at
these
pictures.
Things are huge. Yeah. These things can get huge, way more than you would eat in a meal.
Sure.
And then pickling them. If you freeze them, they turn to mush.
Sure.
If you dehydrate them, that's okay, but you got to cut them into really thin strips, like you're making beef jerky, really. So, but with the pickles, you can still use them in a lot of recipes just as is.
All right, that's cool.
What does it taste?
Yeah,
Does it taste pretty much just like another mushroom, or does it have a kind of a very
Yeah.
distinct taste? Or
no, it has a very distinct texture. I mean, it feels like a chicken breast, but the flavor is just your general mushroom.
okay. And what's your favorite way to prepare them, or what's your favorite recipe to use them with?
Okay, with the chicken in the woods, the one I have here on the website, it's just simply chicken in the woods diced up into like half-inch squares, some butter, some parsley, and some garlic, all sautéed together. And it's actually an old Italian dish that I came across.
So, like, I made some
but just-
stroganoff the
there's
other night, and obviously used some mushrooms. Would this be something applicable to using that? You said it's pretty
Oh,
I don't
easily.
want to bastardize it by saying generic mushroom flavor, but
No, it's kind of funny. We're going to go sideways here for a second.
welcome to the club.
Describing the flavor of wild foods is always really difficult because everyone's tongue is different, and they zero in on very specific molecules. Like with goldenrod. To me, goldenrod tastes a lot like black jelly beans. Other people say, no, it doesn't taste anything like black jelly beans. It tastes kind of like spinach or even tastes like ginger because each person, their tongue is keyed into different molecules that registers more strongly than others.
Sure. All right.
So,
That makes sense.
like with chicken in the woods, there isn't a culturally agreed upon flavor, like potato chips. The flavor of potato chips is actually a mixture of 4 different molecules, and everyone zeroes in on one of those 4 differently than everyone else, basically. So we all, in our mind, when you say potato chip, we know what it tastes like, but how I taste a potato chip is still going to be different than what you taste, because you zero in on a different one of those 4 molecules.
That's crazy.
But there's a cultural agreement on it,
Sure.
which wild food doesn't have.
One of these, pretty much everyone's going to like one of these 4 molecules that are contained in said substance.
Yeah.
Like cilantro is a really prime example of that. Some people hate it, some people love it.
Yep.
The ones that hate it, they have taste buds that can pick up this soapy, oily molecule that the rest of us can't taste.
Yep.
That's crazy. I don't know what I would do in my life if cilantro tasted soapy.
See, it's funny because like I know that. I've heard lots of people
Yeah.
say that. Yeah, I like. I mean, I'll say this: cilantro doesn't taste bad to me, but I'd never really care about it.
I love it.
I mean, I like it
I
in
love
pico or a little bit on a taco is fine, but I'm not like, holy shit, I want some cilantro on this.
It's so good.
But I don't have that genetic trait to have the soapiness. I just don't care about it much.
So you probably just have reduced impulses from the other molecules in there.
Okay. Sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm a huge fan of it. I can't get enough of it. Cilantro and onions on tacos. Oh my god, is it
It
good?
is good, but
It's the best.
so are onions.
Yeah, true.
So what other mushrooms might we see up here, North Texas, out in the woods a little bit? By the way.
All right. So there's a mushroom called woods ear, and it is the key mushroom that is used in the hot and sour soup.
Okay.
Mm.
If you go to like the Asian markets that have the black mushrooms or the dried black mushrooms, that's just woods ear. It grows all over. It prefers to grow on dead elderberry, like wood, but I found it on all sorts of other hardwoods too. By itself, it really doesn't have any flavor, but cut into slices, it has that kind of rubbery, the hot and sour mushroom texture to it.
Yeah.
That's really good at absorbing flavors. So it's just a way of adding a textural interest in your food.
Hmm. Interesting.
Do we have elderberry up here?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Look for it in the wetter. Yeah, elderberry. It's basically starts in Corpus Christi and goes all the way up into Alaska.
Okay.
Right in the.
Pretty much wherever there's water and sunlight.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So it's a little more East Texas, but yeah.
So there's a lot of I'm in the alcohol business, and there's a lot of elderberry liqueurs in the market, and that's very popular right now. My wife likes them, and I enjoy them in certain things. But is that something you could make at home, or have they synthesized and sugared it up so much that's not even relevant to the actual plant?
No, it's elderberry wine. That's another thing that my grandfather used to make. Yeah, I mean, it's just the berries, sugar, yeast, and away you go. Now, the thing with the elderberry berries is you actually want to let them dry, kind of self-dehydrate, or cook them down some. Raw, they do contain a molecule that most people find has an offensive flavor. But if you just let the berries dry, turn into raisins, or if you cook them, that goes away. So if you're going to make an elderberry wine or an elderberry syrup or an elderberry cordial, you actually want to cook it for a bit to drive off that flavor. The flowers, on the other hand, you just take right off the bush and throw them in there.
So if we wanted to make elderberry wine, we should pick a bunch of berries.
Yeah. You can actually collect the flowers now and then the berries later in the summer and make a mixture.
Okay. And the flowers, what would you do with?
Actually, I make, it's part of what I call Meriwether's Elixir of Immortality. So it's been,
I see that down
it's been
the bottom there.
scientifically proven. Yeah. The elderberry flowers and elderberry berries have some compounds in them that basically stimulate your immune system. So when you are sick, when you're fighting an infection, your body first, it sends off this type of cells that label the infectious disease, or the microbes, to say, mark it. It's like tagging it with a laser in the military. Then the Air Force comes in and drops the bombs on it. But the infectious agents are tagged first, and then the killer T cells are produced and released, and they seek out those tagged microbes and eat them and destroy them. The elderberry flowers and the elderberry berries speed up that process, especially the release of the killer T cells, which actually ends up reducing the time that you're sick. So it's proven that way. I have elderberry growing in my yard here in Houston. So in the mornings, I'm picking the flowers, just because there's always lots of flowers all summer long. The birds eat all my berries, so I focus mainly on the flowers. And throw them in vodka and just let them sit for 6 to 8 weeks. I got a jar sitting across from me on my computer here, just making what's called an elderberry flower tincture. And I will strain it out, and then I will mix that with a tincture made from burdock root, which you have up there in Dallas, and also reishi mushroom, which is also up in Dallas and all across here. But the reishi mushroom prevents the growth of tumors and also shrinks tumors that are growing. There's actually 2 cancer medications, commercial cancer medications made from the reishi mushroom. In Asia, the reishi mushroom is considered the mushroom of immortality, and it was only to be used by the emperor. So you got the anti-cancer fighting properties of the reishi mushroom, the improved immune system from the elderberry, and then the burdock root is a liver strengthener and general repairer. So the burdock root, a tincture made from that, has been shown to basically give you a really tough liver. And since I am a chemist working in a chemical plant, surrounded by chemicals all day long, the liver's purpose is to break those down and get rid of them. So I want to make sure I have a really strong liver.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the 3 things combined, and then with some honey, and then I just take a shot of that every night and plan on being immortal.
There you go. You'll live forever.
Yep.
Sounds logical.
I got a lot to get done, so I need to live forever.
Yeah, I get it, man. Time is our greatest commodity, right? So.
Exactly.
So looking at all through these elderberry pictures and such, the 2 things that are poisonous, but somewhat like it. That pokeweed berry, just looks crazy. That's easy to mistake for it. But
Right.
the Chinese privet berries, so the biggest difference I can see is, those look like kind of like grape clusters, where the elderberry kind of, every berry seems to be on its own little stem, and they all kind of hang at the same height.
They look like like grapes.
The
Well,
bad
so
things look like
look
grapes.
at the
Yeah,
elderberry.
The bad
Yeah.
thing, the
The
Chinese privet
elderberry-
looks like grapes. Sorry.
Yeah. The elderberry grows in what's called an umbral. So think of an umbrella. The flowers really look like a half dome of cauliflower, and then the berries do too. So they form kind of this dome shape.
And you could probably
then
smell them if you're familiar with what elderberry smells like, right?
Yeah,
The flowers.
correct. Yep. The privet, you're right. It grows in grape-like clusters along a stem. Also, the leaves of the Chinese privet, they're single, they're opposite each other, kind of like, well, the Chinese privet, that's also the one from the Yopon holly.
Yeah.
Whereas the elderberry leaf, it's a compound leaf. So you have the main stem there, and then the leaflets coming off it. So in the pictures with the ruler, the close-up of compound multi-leaflet leaves topside, that whole thing there from the tip at the bottom of the picture all the way to the top, that is one leaf composed of multiple leaflets.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
from a botany point of view, that is one leaf. So,
Okay.
That makes
If
some
you
more
look at
sense
the-
now that I'm seeing that, because when we started this conversation and you were kind of describing that, it was,
yeah,
it was hard for me to imagine that,
hmm And if you look at the last picture of the leaf where it's kind of horizontal, at the far left, at the tip of the red stem there's this little half moon of yellow. And that's how leaves are attached. They have this little half moon that attaches them to the stem. If you look at all the other leaflets, it's just a continuous, smooth, uniform nothing. It's just one extruded worm, I guess.
Yeah.
But the leaves, there's an actual distinct attachment point where it comes off, because most of the time the plant will drop the leaf in the fall. There's a cutoff point there. It's very distinctive. Next time you're outside, just look at the leaves and see if you can figure out where the leaf attaches to the stem. There will be an actual seam there between the stem, the branch, and the leaf.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
I'm to look for some. So you only want to pick the berries or the flowers.
Yeah. The rest of the plant is mildly poisonous. Not like kill you, but it could give you an upset stomach.
So the flowers, you just want to pinch off right there at the stem, just the flower itself.
Yeah, so what my mom taught me is she'll get a wide tooth comb, and basically the gap between the teeth of the comb has to be smaller than the flower, but bigger than the stems, and you basically just comb the flowers off into a pot or a bucket or a bowl.
Okay.
And then the same works for the berries.
Go to Walgreens and start buying a couple different size combs.
Exactly. I actually carry a comb in my foraging bags just for that. I found one that works right, and away I go.
I want to get back to what's in that foraging bag,
Yeah.
but I want to ask, do morels grow in Texas?
Yes. In fact, they're extremely common down in Austin. The morels, they like a basic soil. So East Texas, piney woods is very acidic. Morels don't like that. They want a basic soil. So the Austin chalk is where they prefer. But basically the end line in North America for morel mushrooms is Waco. Yet to find any reports of a morel being found south of Waco, Texas. But Waco on up. And basically when in the springtime, when the soil temperature reaches about 50 to 55 degrees, that triggers the morel mushrooms to appear. And then they'll go until the surface temperature hits about 60 to 65, and then they'll stop.
So Austin's just an exception.
Well, no. That's even happened in Austin, but the other triggering thing is what we call a high pH, or a basic. So,
I
forest
meant
fire?
you saying Waco. You felt like Waco was a line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, but yeah, then Austin is south. So the soil conditions of the Austin
Just
out
prime.
Yeah, exactly. So it has that Austin chalk.
I'm going to be doing me some morel picking around Waco.
Yeah, so start looking. Now, what triggers them also, along with the temperature, is that that high pH. So when you burn a hard wood, oak, maple, hickory, pecan, not pine, not cedar, but the hardwoods, the ashes are filled with what's called lye, Lye, which is a mixture of potassium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide, which is a very high pH substances, so opposite of acid. So areas where there has been a forest fire the year before and the ash now is in the soil, that will often trigger the morels. If you have a piece of property where you think there might be morels, you want to start collecting all your campfire ashes and soak them in water and then spread the water around your property and try and see if you can raise the pH to a point that will trigger the morels.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that on other things about burn sites triggering a lot of morel growth. So that makes sense when you put it in those terms.
The chemistry of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the building blocks, right?
Okay, let's talk about your foraging bag.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So break down what's in your bag?
What kind of bag? Let's start with the bag itself.
Okay, actually, if you go to www.amazon, actually, if you're on my website, up at the top there's the link to the book, and directly below it there's Amazon Books and Gear, 6 Steps to Becoming a Forager. If you click on that link, it goes to my Amazon store. And if you scroll down, basically the Advanced Foragers Kit.
Okay.
So if you click on it, that is my foraging bag. So that bag there, I find it works really well. Next to it is what's called a hori knife. This was developed in Japan for harvesting the naturally occurring bonsai trees off the sides of cliffs. One side is a sharpened knife edge. The other side is a serrated for cutting through roots. Heavy duty, thick, and you can't see it in the picture, but it has a slight curve to it, like a trowel. So it's a really fantastic digging tool and chopping tool, and just all around multi-purpose one tool for digging and cutting, especially for digging. They make it in stainless steel. I like the carbon steel one that I picked here, just because I find in a lot of the soil in Texas, wherever you are, the stainless steel ones will actually bend when you're trying to pry stuff out of the ground, whereas the carbon steel, I've never had it. They're bomb-proof. Then next to that is your little waterproof notebook. One of the things I do whenever I go to an area, let's say I'm teaching a class, after the class and all the students left, I sit down, I write the location, the date, and all the plants I found. And I've been doing this for years, so I have a big collection of what is available where, when.
Okay.
So it just helps you. It helps you remind yourself and train yourself what to be looking for any time of year, any location. If you've been doing this long enough. So it's more like a training aid to help you remember what you're finding and what's available, and when it's worth looking for something and when it's not.
Yeah, for sure.
Then there's the magnifying glass, just for looking at the fine details, especially in really tiny flowers or the hairs on leaves, where you want to see some really minute details to make sure, what you have is what you think it is. A canteen, and next to it, a traditional canteen cup with the lid, just for, boiling stuff, making tea out in the wild. And then a cheap little gas stove. A little, oh man, is this thing not working? Oh, currently unavailable. There's a little mini bamboo cutting board shown in the picture there. Mm-hmm. That fits perfectly in one of the front pockets of the foraging bag, and it's just really, really handy to have a little cutting board with you for slicing things up, especially even in the identification process, like cutting a fruit in half to make sure the inside of the fruit matches as well as the outside and everything else, or cutting a mushroom in half to make sure, it's a puffball rather than a death cap, to see the internal structures. And then, of course, I can never say it right, but the shemaga, the scarf.
Yeah.
It's always good. Yeah. Always have your towel with you wherever you go, basically. And the wood tick removers, that's really important. I know you've probably heard there's a new tick-based disease in Texas that makes the people allergic to red meat.
Yeah, the Lone Star tick's carrying it. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just starting to
apparently
come into East Texas.
It's yeah. I can't imagine not eating.
I got 3 or 4 ticks a few weeks ago, and concerning.
Yeah, so
it's
easy.
Concerning.
Yeah, because you don't want to squeeze the tick and inject the tick guts into your blood. That's the number one way of getting infection.
Yeah.
So, and then next to that, you see this Workman's Friends Superior Barrier Skin Cream. That's actually one of the products that we make where I work. And what it is you put it on your skin, and it lays down in an invisible, impenetrable, unnoticeable layer of silicone that protects you from anything sticky, stainy, or stinky, or corrosive, or even like poison ivy. So you just coat your hands and your forearms and all that with it, and then you don't have to worry about getting anything on you. And it lasts about 4 hours.
It doesn't make you slippery at all?
Nope. It, if anything, it kind of gives you a slightly better grip. Once it's on, it's a nano, or not nanoparticles. They're not that small. They're microparticles of silicone, too big to be absorbed into the skin, but they bind to the dead skin on the surface of your skin, because you're basically encased with leather. But it binds to that, and then as those dead skin cells just naturally slip off, the barrier goes with them. And it lasts about 4 hours, we found. But during that time, you can wash your hands, and nothing sticks to it.
Interesting.
We found it's really popular with sushi chefs because at the end of the night, their hands don't smell of fish.
Yeah. So it's food safe?
Yes.
So it could be handy for cleaning animals?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, it will not prevent infectious diseases from getting through.
Sure.
But, if you're doing leather working, yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Working on those skulls.
Yeah. Or working on your car, your truck, anything like that. It keeps the motor grease and stuff off. Yeah. But yeah, that's my basic kit. Then also there will be a pruning shears in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what do you store things in that you find, like Ziploc bags, Nalgene bottles?
It depends on where I'm going out, but usually most things I'll grab just a pile of Ziploc bags for most stuff, and then for some of the tender stuff, I'll just have like the disposable Gladware.
Okay. Yeah.
Things like some of the mushrooms, they don't. They like to breathe, basically. If I'm going out specifically for mushrooms, you go to Salvation Army or the Goodwill stores, and you get one of those decorative wicker baskets that doesn't look too frou-frou, and use that when you're at mushroom hunting.
Gotcha.
The wicker baskets work really well because one of the nice things about the wicker is the mushrooms are constantly expelling spores, and they can flow through the wicker and replant themselves throughout
Yeah.
the wood. But yeah, this is my basic kit.
That's awesome.
I can't wait for squirrel gravy, for acorn squirrel gravy.
I want to find some berries
Oh,
and stuff.
man.
Yeah, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole
Yeah.
real quick.
That's all we need is another hobby.
That's the last.
But I
thing.
feel like this is just a bonus round.
You're
for
just
current hobbies.
you're already
We're
walking
out
in
there.
the woods,
Exactly.
you know. So
Yeah.
We're already out there.
If you're going to do the something I want to try is so like in a lake, soaking the acorns doesn't work as well because you need the water flowing over it.
Sure.
But I keep thinking if you tied it to a branch and then put a paddle, something to catch the wind on the string, so like the wind was just kind of swishing the bag of acorns in still water, that would probably work too. Not as well as running water, but it might take a day or two that way.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that.
get some and drag it behind the SS Leaky Creek.
Yeah, it's drag them around while we're fishing.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think.
Probably want to attach it to the front of the boat if you have a gas powered motor.
Yeah,
Just so you don't get the. Yeah.
we're not that fancy, Mark.
We're not going to go down this road.
Yeah, we're gonna trolling motor.
Our boat's a piece of work.
Yeah, it gets us where we need to go, though. Barely, but
Healthily with lots of exercise.
exactly. So,
What? Anything else you want to touch on?
yeah, concluders. Are we forgetting anything major here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Eating bugs.
eating
insects.
bugs.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, a great source of protein,
Uh-huh.
generally easy to catch. So, a number of different edible bugs that a person will find out in the wild. First, moths. M-O-T-H-S, moths.
Huh.
If you have your candle or your lantern at night and the moths are floating around, the small gray ones, they taste like almonds.
Okay.
Awesome
Right.
stuff. The June bugs, the big June bugs that are flying and banging against their windows right now.
Big brown ones?
Yep. You put those, you catch them live, you drop them in a hot pan, no oil. They absorb oil, so you just kind of shake the pan, kind of like you're making popcorn,
Sure.
and they kind of pop up, they puff up. At that point, they're done. You take them out, you peel off the legs, the wings, the head, and what's left is just the body, and it tastes more or less like a peanut.
Okay.
The wood scorpions, especially the East Texas wood scorpions, when they're roasted, treated the same way. You just have to cut off the stinger, and you eat the rest of the thing, and it tastes kind of like a mixture between shrimp and cheese, which sounds kind of weird, but it's actually really good.
Okay.
All right. That one won't ever
Scorpion.
happen for me. I'm not a rat. I mean, I get it, but arachnids aren't my thing.
Okay.
You can't do it.
No,
I don't know.
can't
It
do
sounds like, but see, that's good knowledge to have. 'Cause you can be like,
Yeah, absolutely good knowledge.
get those June bugs and have.
The fire ant larvae, those are edible. The fire ants themselves are not. They're too loaded with formic acid. But the easiest thing to get the larva is you have a bucket of water, you scoop up the nest, you drop it in the bucket of water. The sand sinks, the ants and the larva float, and then the ants will crawl out. You'll still have ants left behind. You don't want to be like standing right next to the bucket because you're going to have a bunch of wet, angry fire ants coming out of it.
Yeah.
But eventually you're just left with the larvae kind of floating there. You scoop those out and throw them in whatever you're cooking just for extra protein there. Grasshoppers are really good, but the key with grasshoppers first, well, pretty much any of the insects you do want to cook, especially grasshoppers and beetles, anything that creeps along the ground, because most likely they are carrying tapeworms. So you need to cook it to kill the tapeworms. Also with the grasshoppers, you want to make sure that they are either green or brown. Basically camouflage, hard to see. So if it's green or brown, go ahead and eat it. Especially out in East Texas, There is the southern lubber grasshopper, which are huge. They're big, giant grasshoppers, brightly colored. And it kind of looks like a monarch butterfly and a yellow jacket hornet and a grasshopper maven. It made this thing. Okay, roasted, they actually taste like steak. The problem is, and I learned this
Mark, that
after
seems like a
eating
stretch,
it.
buddy.
It doesn't. They're just speaking from experience.
I believe you.
The problem with those is that their main plant that they eat is poison ivy.
Oh.
Which I did not know at the time.
And so you got a little...
So it doesn't bode well?
No.
So they taste good, but just doesn't end well.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You get the poison ivy from the inside out?
Yeah.
Well,
luckily, I only ate four
that
of them,
sounds awful.
so it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've never poisoned myself with a plant or a mushroom. The only thing I've ever had a problem with was that particular grasshopper.
That was the one that got
In
you.
retrospect, I should have realized. It brightly colored, slow moving. Yeah, that was dumb on my part. But it tasted good.
Yeah, you hear a lot about cricket protein nowadays, and sustainable, and a lot of countries using that a lot. There's
cricket flour.
Yeah, there's you can buy protein shake mix. It's cricket protein now and stuff. So that all makes sense to me. But
I mean, it's just
you lost me at scorpions.
It's just a deer, except just no meat or smaller amount of meat.
I get it.
You skewer them, roast them, and eat them like a kebab.
Yep.
Right in that pan that we brought for Naked and Afraid.
I'll roast them.
Yeah, exactly.
Backpack.
There you go.
A
backpack.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
That was dumb.
That was before you were warmed up. That's the problem.
Yeah.
If you set the backpack on the ground, then it'll be filled with the scorpions that are crawling into it.
Exactly.
You can use the back.
And then maybe I go down that road so I can eat.
It's a bug trap.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I really meant to say.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we've covered bugs,
mushrooms, berries,
trees,
flowers.
What else are we missing?
That's a good overview.
That is. While we were sitting here, I ordered your book on Amazon.
Oh, excellent.
It was funny, though, is it'd been sitting in the cart in my saved for later. I'm not lying to you, for 2 years now. So I ran across, that's cool. And I was like, one of those things, I'll get on the next order. I'll get on the next order. And then, we get halfway into this, I'm like, I'm 2 years late on this thing.
Yeah.
All right, do me a favor. Delete it from your cart, and then order it specifically from the link from www.foragingtexas.com.
Got it.
The reason I'm asking you to do this is the way the Idiot's Guide series works is they find an idiot to write a book for them. I do not get royalties for that book. The publisher owns all the rights.
Okay.
The only way I get paid for it is if you buy it specifically from my Amazon link. In that case, I get 6% of the price. So
will do.
Yes.
So if anybody is
appreciate that, thank you.
Of course, man. We appreciate you being on here talking to us. This has been. I was happy to talk to you. I thought it was be interesting, but I'm
beyond over the moon.
This was awesome.
that was the thing. Before the conversation, I was I didn't know. It's just it's so many things that it's overwhelming that you don't even know where to go. And I mean, obviously we've scratched, if maybe not even classified as scratched the surface of things that we could have talked about today. But I think for getting started, there's so many different things that kind of opened up for, at least I know for the two of us sitting here, it did. Here's
what I want to do, and I know it's taken some time for all of us to get our schedules together, and we apologize and are super appreciative of you. You made some time tonight and stuff because this was badass.
Yeah.
I want to get into deer season a little bit, and I spend some more time in the woods, and say January when deer season's kind of slowed down, we may be knocking down some ducks and kind of wrapping it up for the year. I want to get you back on, and let's talk about what we found and what you did this
Yeah.
fall,
Oh, awesome.
and just kind of recap, because we're definitely going to do some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, we're going to do acorn and acorn flour. We're going to do some squirrel gravy. We're definitely going to go find some honeysuckle, like, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And do some sugar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's try to recap in, like, first quarter.
I'm cool with
Okay.
that.
After we've spent some time
Yeah,
in the woods
that
and we've
sounds good.
played some. Because I think that would be super
Oh,
cool.
here's a tip for leaching the acorns. Again, go to Goodwill and just buy a used coffee pot and just use it strictly for the acorns.
Oh, that's a great idea. And just
They're like $3 to $5 there.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to worry about, the imparting flavor in your coffee or anything, because the tannic acid, it will eventually collect. A lot of even in coffee, the brown stains that are forming, eventually that's like a polymerization of the tannic acid type stuff.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just want a dedicated system for leaching.
For your
And the bigger you can find, the better, just because it has a bigger water reservoir.
and just keep that full and keep the water moving over it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, yeah, coffee, even if I think you can get a new coffee pot for like $20 nowadays since everybody has Keurigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can find us a coffee
I
pot.
bet we could.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. I can't wait.
We can do this.
It's now we're gonna be fighting.
Yes, you can.
We're gonna be fighting deer for white acorns.
Well, then you add them to the gravy.
Exactly. That would be
You
great.
say like deer
Yep.
tongue gravy.
Deer tongue gravy.
I'm into deer tongue.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
I've not ventured into the tongue world yet, but
I feel like I'd fed it to you. I guess I haven't.
I feel like I need to start getting into that game.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, Mark, I can't thank you enough again. Everybody go out to, you should have been following along. I'll tell you that because it makes this podcast a lot better if you're on the foragingtexas.com website and you can navigate on the left-hand side and see all of the different things that we talked about and pictures. It's a super informative website. And Mark, where would somebody be able to follow you on? Maybe like Instagram or Facebook or social medias?
So on Facebook, you would follow just facebook.com/Foraging Texas. On Instagram, it is Meriwether Forager. And then normally I try and post some plant or something every day. This last week and next week, I've been working super late at my real job, and I just haven't had the time to do the posts like I normally do. And then also, Wednesday evenings on the Facebook page, I do a live show for an hour from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time. So, and actually, next week I'm excited. I'm having a special guest, another biology professor, doctor of biology, and we're going to discuss the different biological ways one could actually create a zombie apocalypse.
Oh my God!
A little off topic.
8
But,
to 9 o'clock.
Yeah, 8 to 9 on Facebook, the Foraging Texas. Then afterwards, so if you watch it live, you can add comments and so forth. But then the video remains on Facebook afterwards, and then I'm also putting them on YouTube, doing a little editing and so forth to clean up if there's a bad audio spot.
Sure. I'll be tuned in next week for sure. Zombies fascinate me.
I'm right there with you.
Okay.
I don't understand how something fake classifies as something. People are legitimately afraid of zombies, and they don't even exist.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't know if you're familiar with Zombie Squad. It's a 501c organization that basically teaches preparedness humorously, using zombies as a metaphor for any of the disasters that can happen in life.
Anything that can happen, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're prepared for zombies, you're prepared for anything.
Yeah, exactly. If you think, if zombies were to attack, do you think they move quick or do they move slow? Because that's like the big
I'd say
distinction.
slow. Well, and that's actually something we'll discuss. It depends on the underlying driving force. like a weaponized rabies sort of virus, that would result in fast zombies.
So kind of like
That's
the
it.
28 Days Later zombie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Just World War Z sort of.
Yes.
Yeah. Those sort of things. Yeah. Where if it's more of just a brain deterioration, then it'll be the slow zombies.
Okay. Something like a brain worm.
Yeah. There's actually an infection from cats that can pass on to humans and affect. Well, it's interesting. In rats, it increases the risk-taking of the rats.
Toxoplasmosis.
So they're more. Yes.
Yep.
So the rats are more likely to be out in the open where the cats can then catch them.
Yeah, and they say, people they've tried to say, I don't know how much data they've got on it, that they found it in a lot of people who lead reckless lifestyles.
Exactly.
Like skydivers or something.
Like motorcycles, skydiving,
Yeah.
people reckless in general, more risk takers. Kind of like you said about the rats, they find it in cadavers.
Huh.
Yep.
And it comes from cats.
Yep. It's the primary carrier.
I'm learning more and more about the cat.
I have a cat.
They are just like the most deadly thing on the face of this planet, I feel like.
Oh, tell me about it. My first touch of internet fame was a record of a cat bite on my hand and the huge infection that developed from it. Okay. And for years, if you Googled cat bite, the first thing that came up was pictures of my hand. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I learned that they kill 2 billion songbirds in this country.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every year.
No, they're
death dealing bastards.
Yeah, they are. Things just sitting over there. Death machine.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've shown even if you put a bell on the cat's learned to walk silently without triggering the bell.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Death dealing.
They are fascinating creatures. I get why the Egyptians worshipped them. It makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
So back to zombies. What is your favorite zombie movie? And then we're gonna.
Here goes.
Oh, man.
Podcast 2.0.
There are a lot of B movies, zombie movies. I love on Amazon Prime and Netflix and all those. Looking for the 2-star zombie movies.
The worse, the better, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a really, really, really good one though. The Girl with All the Gifts.
I've never even.
The Girl
heard of
with
this.
All the Gifts. Fantastic movie.
Okay.
And the zombies in those, they were. It was due to a fungal infection. But really, really, really good movie. Well done. Good story. Actual decent special effects and everything.
The Girl with the Special Gifts.
The Girl with all the gifts.
All the gifts. All the gifts.
That's, yeah.
My short-term memory is no mas.
Man, okay, so when we regroup in January, February, we'll talk about some plants. Maybe we'll try to do something live. Maybe we'll bring some plants in we found. Maybe we'll go down a zombie black hole.
There's no doubt
Because
with
that could be fun, too.
Yeah.
Zombie black holes. Well, Mark, we appreciate you joining us, man. Like I said, go out to Foraging, Texas. Meriwether Foraging on Instagram, right?
Instagram.
And then
Yep.
Foraging
And
Texas on Facebook, right?
Correct. Yep.
See, I've got a little bit of.
You got this. You crushed it.
I got a little bit.
Oh, and actually, those of you who are in East Texas, you will find the magazine Charm East Texas. It is a East Texas fashion women's magazine sort of thing. And for the last 2.5 years, I've been writing a monthly column for that. So you can find it in the stores and so forth. So Charm East Texas.
Charm East Texas.
Yep. It's a magazine, and like I said, I have a monthly article in that too.
Very neat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, man, we appreciate it again. Thank you for
Absolutely.
making time.
Well, my pleasure. It took us a while, but we worked it out.
We got it done.
Yeah, totally worth it. This was awesome.
Absolutely. I can't wait for an adventure in the woods. I won't move so quickly through the woods anymore. I will be looking around a little bit more. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to say we need to set up a time when we can all head up together. And we'll just
Exactly.
spend the
Love
weekend
that.
with a
Absolutely.
with
Yeah.
a
Learn from the
backpack and
master.
2 pots and call it good.
Exactly. See, I'll put your pots in my backpack.
So we won't have to carry anything.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, we will actually be down in your neck of the woods next weekend.
Week from tomorrow.
Yeah, so this is Thursday night, and this comes out on Friday. So a week from tomorrow, or today when you're listening to this, if you're listening to it Friday. But June 22nd, we will be in Spring, Texas at Texas Archery pretty much all day for a big fundraiser we have for backcountry hunters and anglers. It's going to be the Full Draw Film Tour, so it is a big bow hunting only film tour that is put out every year. That's really good, and come out, and we're gonna have a bunch of food. I think there's gonna be some. I don't know what Robert's cooking. Burgers.
I know there's briskets.
Briskets. That's right. Yeah.
It'll be good.
Good food.
I'll
Send me a link to that.
There's going to be a techno.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, we will. And there will be a techno hunt. So if you're into like the big thing that Joe Rogan has in his studio, where you can shoot your bow at a screen, we're going to have a techno bow competition. I think we're going to have a 40-yard bow shoot competition as well, and then we're going to have a ton of raffle prizes there. And all the money goes to help support public lands and conservation in the country, and a lot of it right here in Texas. So.
Cool.
So you guys go check that out. Tickets are available online. Go to the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Facebook page or Instagram page, and you'll be able to find a link.
Yep.
And it's going to be a fun evening.
There we go. Found it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, man. If you make it up, it'd be awesome to meet you in person.
Yeah.
We'll be up there. Abe and I are driving up
There's,
Friday evening to hang out and get up there Saturday morning early. And
I live on the north side of Houston, so
that ain't too far from you.
Yeah.
yeah.
We would love to meet you there, and
Cool.
anybody else listening who's in the Houston area or around there, come on out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I know we have one bow to give away, and I'm sure we've got a bunch of other things that are on the raffle table. So, anybody have any questions? Reach out to us via on the Instagram or social medias, and email us info@stormwatercreek.com. And make sure you like and subscribe the podcast, and check us out on YouTube, our website, www.stormwatercreek, and we thank you guys for listening.